Yeah, that's a good question.
So, welcome to, what episode number is this? 5? 6?
Hand signals.
Yeah,
what
where's
episode
Mel?
are we?
Does she know?
5 plus 3. We're at 8.
Oh.
Episode
whoa.
8, which is actually a very lucky number.
7.
7. Never mind. Also still a lucky number.
Yeah. Alright, so welcome to episode 7, now that we've gone through that. We're doing another edition of Infrared Interviews, and this time we are lucky enough to have Anna, who is our newest brand ambassador for Snow Monkey, athlete brand ambassador. She just got home from New Zealand and doing her first half of the Olympic trials for sailing. So we're very happy that she beat jet lag and came to hang out with us. What's up, Anna?
Nothing. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
This is
Thanks
so
for
fun.
coming.
And
Otto's-
Otto here, yeah.
Otto's Anna's biggest fanboy.
Yeah, Otto refused to get out of the sauna and is just laying across Rachel and Anna right now, which is fantastic. Even dogs have to detoxify and let it out, so we're all in here together.
Yeah.
And then also, last thing before I let Anna introduce herself and tell everyone a bit about her is that for all the infrared interviews going forward, we're going to have like a themed outfit to make the guest feel more at home and more comfortable. So we decided that because Anna is from Florida, that there was nothing more fitting than a couple of muumuus that you would find in a dollar store on the beach and then wear to the beach. So we're rocking some pretty great outfits right now.
Yeah. We also have discount codes for these if you want to DM us.
Yeah. Or just, I'll give you
Yeah.
Rachel's number. She has a new Rite Aid card.
Thanks.
All right, so Anna, do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Anna, and, well, I'm a sailor. So, I've been sailing since I was, 8 years old, so, a long time, and I'm 21, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Recently, I left Boston University to train for the Olympics and hope to make the 2020 Olympic team. I sail a foiling catamaran, which is, it's hydrofoils out of the water, so maybe we can insert clip here. Yeah.
Brief pause.
Brief pause, yeah. So they're really fast foiling catamarans, and I sail with a guy. It's a co-ed class. And so, yeah, like Liza said, I just got back from New Zealand and did the first half of our Olympic trials. So, first half out of the way. The next half will be in February. Hi, Otto. In Australia. So, we're coming up on the end of it and hope to make the Olympic team.
Yeah, and I feel like you have some bragging rights coming back from this first half, right?
Well, we're currently leading the first half of the trials, so it's pretty cool, and we're excited to get to the second half and finish the job. So, but it's nice to get the first half out of the way.
Something's beeping. Is the chicken done?
I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so that's awesome. I feel like you're being super humble. So she's literally in first place for Team USA.
Yeah, and that means she's going to go to the Olympics. I was like,
Yeah, and literally only one boat gets to go from each country, and her boat is very comfortably in first place. Knock on wood, but I won't totally jinx it, but very great. So that's awesome. And then you mentioned that your sailing partner is Riley. I think there's also something pretty unique about the configuration of your division of sailing.
Yeah, so it's a co-ed class, the boat that I sail. It's called the narca 17. And it's actually the only co-ed sport in the Summer Olympics. So it's a really, really cool and interesting dynamic, especially because, it doesn't matter if you, so it's 2 people on the boat, but it doesn't matter if you drive or if you crew, which is what I do. So there's a lot of men and females doing my job. on the boat, so it's a really interesting dynamic, and it keeps the level high of sailing, because there's really no, like, there has to be a guy and a girl on the boat, so it's like, it's an interesting partnership and dynamic, and it's cool to be a part of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
As female athletes are starting to get a lot more awareness and stardom, do you feel a shift in attention towards your sport, or like the class of co-ed sailing at all?
I'm not quite sure, but I would say just more in a general sense, like, females in general, like, are getting more attention, and like the sailing that I do, like, it's becoming more and more high performance, so you need to be strong, and like, you need to be powerful, and you need to be able to lift weights, and like, you have to like own your own body, because like, at the end of the day, like, you're controlling the boat, and it's like, I guess in like other sports, like if you're running, like, yeah, you're controlling your own body, but like, it's cool that like you are in charge of maneuvering this like huge sailboat, and it's like small, but it's like very powerful, you know.
Right.
Hello, Otto. Like, I guess being a part of something that like requires you to be strong and fit, and like, as a female athlete, I think it's cool, and I think a lot of especially a lot of young girls and sailors, like, I know, look up to like older female sailors who are doing like the Olympic style sailing, and it's really cool to be a part of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then your partner Riley, how did you meet Riley, and what has that relationship been like?
So I met Riley back in high school. We were just friends, and he was sailing different boats than I was, but we met through mutual friends, and like, kind of the sailing world is like pretty small, so you meet a lot of people, and he asked me to sail with him while I was like finishing up my exams at BU. And so but he's a really, really talented sailor, and it's been really fun working with him. But yeah, it's like nice to have a partner who you're like really friends with and close with, and who you can trust and communicate with, and like, at the end of the day, like, we're gonna be really good friends, so it's, no matter what happens on the water, you know, it's a cool partnership we have, so yeah.
Yeah. I think something we talk about a lot is how you like manage partnerships, and how you manage the people that, I mean, I know for Rachel and I, we've been best friends forever, but then we also have this working relationship. Yeah. So it's always a delicate balance between, hey, in this moment we're friends, and in this moment, like, this is a business, this is a team, this is no egos, this is, I'm going to tell you straight up how it is, you tell me straight up how it is in your mind. How do you and Riley navigate that friendship versus brutally honest teammates?
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting that you asked that, because I think, like, going into doing this, like, whole Olympic campaign is, like, what you call it, I, like, I gotta be honest, I was, like, totally naive to, like, how to communicate, because I was always sailing by myself, like, I was sailing boats by myself, and so the communication aspect is, like, the most challenging part of it, because, you know, you're out there, like, you want to win, like, everything, like, intense moments, these boats are so fast, like, you're doing everything in split seconds, you know, and being able to communicate and work on that, and like, balance, especially like guy girl emotions, you know, like, just like the way we are, I feel like we're different, and so we deal with emotions different ways, and so working on that together is something that we're always trying to better, and it's like not always easy. Like, there will be times like we'll be yelling at each other, and like but like trying to manage that as best we can, because like, at the end of the day, everybody on the water is having the same issues as we are, but just keeping it light when we can, and like really trying to hone in on that is like we've really been working on, because it does get difficult sometimes, so but it's fun and rewarding when you get it right, you know, when your communication's good, and so
when the stakes are so high, and you're kind of like, you're on edge yourself,
your
partner's on edge,
exactly, and you, like, I've seen both sides of it, like when we're not communicating well, and when we're not sailing well, and then when we're like communication's great and we're only saying the things that we need to say, and it's like awesome, you know, and like we're winning races, you know, and like it's like always it's cool to like know what the feeling is, what you're striving for all the time. So it's just trying to get that percentage higher and higher of the communication being really good. So yeah.
That's awesome. Have any questions?
Yeah, I have many questions.
Jump in. I feel like I've asked like 10.
I have a question relating to training, because you said
Okay.
that you have to really own your body and control this massively powerful boat.
Mhm.
What are actually the metrics and like training exercises that sailors traditionally do?
So it's honestly different for everybody, but there's a lot of pulling involved, and so my whole job is like I will trim the main, which is like the big sail.
Okay.
And so while Riley's driving, so Riley, if you're listening to this, like it's like a common known fact that the crews do all the hard work, and like they're the ones like almost steering the boat because you have the main. So so
So round 2, we lost Otto because he was panting too loud.
But did not want to get out.
Yeah.
Was very much enjoying. Anna, do you feel like a lot of levity now that you don't have like 65-pound dog all over your lap
nice.
in an infrared
like
sauna?
It was like making the sweat like more, you know, like, 'cause, you know, it's like more warm.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, back to the optimal metrics and training plan for a sailor.
Yeah, so it's different for everybody because lots of people have different strengths and weaknesses, but it's a lot of pulling, like I said. So basically, like I'm always holding like the main, so it's like the main sail, and then when we go downwind, which is like we'll change directions, I'll hoist a kite, and so I'll be trimming that, and then Riley will hold the main sheet. This is a lot of sailing terms. I don't really know how else to describe it, but
We'll
so,
link a sailing one.
Yeah. So and in the load, because the boats go so fast, like we hit 28 knots, which is I think like 30 something miles an hour. So like we're going pretty quick for a 17-foot boat. And the load is really, really high, so it requires you to be strong. So you do a lot of pulling, and naturally, like, because you do a lot of pulling, like, you'll get stronger. And so a lot of the fitness that you need is just repetition on the water, and sailing fitness, and like the cardiovascular needs to be really good.
Okay.
As well, because you're always like your heart rate's always high, and you do a lot of explosive movements. When I go back home, I'm gonna work at Force Physical Therapy, shout out Force, to work on like some agility things. They have a really good program with a lot of NFL and MLB guys.
Okay.
So I'll be doing a lot of agility, and that I know will help my sailing a lot because you need to be agile, and it's like you're always doing something on the boat. So whatever it is, like whether you're moving forward, backwards, in, out, you know, trimming, easing, like whatever you're doing, it requires you to be super agile and quick and explosive. So I guess that's what I'm personally working on. So yeah, but keeps it fun, I guess.
So a lot of weightlifting, I'm assuming?
I don't do as much as I did before.
Okay.
Just because like things that I need to work on wouldn't necessarily be like, I guess, weights, because I have previously like built that strength.
Got it.
And so like now I'm just trying to keep my cardiovascular up and like get more quick and agile.
Okay.
And so specifically for me, that's what I'm kind of trying to work on. So a lot of upper body though. So it's like people are always like, oh, you're so strong. I'm like, well, kind of have to be. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if someone put me on a boat and was like, yo, sail this, I'd be like, I'm just gonna jump off the boat right now because that's where I'm gonna end up in about 30 seconds.
You're actually saying that falling off the boat is incredibly dangerous. Why?
Yeah, it is. So the boat that I sail, it's like hydrofoil, so basically it comes out of the water. So the foils are shaped in a way like kind of like an airplane wing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fall off and like get struck by the foils, like you're going at such a high speed. It's like imagine like I don't know, it's like a carbon fiber like piece of like this thin, you know,
Is
paper
it like getting
thin.
hit by a car?
Yeah, but it's like you're going, like I said, like you're going upwards to 30 miles an hour, and just imagine just like getting hit like that when you're like dead stopped,
The
you
carbon
know?
fiber
Yeah, like
whole piece
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you get hit by that, you know, it's pretty dangerous. So these boats like are are dangerous, so like, and really the only way to like get through it is you can't hold back, I've learned. So it's a lot of commitment and to sending it, I guess, to like prevent that from happening. But yeah, it can be detrimental, knock on wood.
Yeah, good thing we're sitting in a
Yeah.
wood box, so
Yeah,
I think we're
plenty
Yeah.
of moments to knock
Yeah.
on wood.
Yeah.
So I want to know, so you do all this training, this physical training on the water and then
Mhm.
off the water. What do you do in terms of like mental training? Like how do you stay mentally strong, waking up every single day, ready to do it again, potentially get hit by a carbon fiber
Yeah.
piece going at 28 knots?
Yeah.
And you're like, this sounds like a great idea. I'm going to do it again today.
Yeah.
So
Well, so something that's really cool about sailing is like you have so many factors that are always changing. So it's like whether it's the sea state or the wind, or like other boats, you know, like everything's constantly changing. Like no moment will ever be the same. You know, like if you go like, I don't know, like a soccer field will always be a soccer field. Like whatever, a football field will always be a football field, you know, but like sailing, like everything's always moving and it's like always flowing in different directions, you know, whatever it is. So going out like with, I guess, the right mindset to like find something that you want to fine tune and work on, and like focusing your energy on that, because there's literally so many things like that will never just get perfect, because you know, like everything's changing, right? We have so many factors around us, so just trying to get as close as you can to that with like multiple things, it keeps you engaged. And it's sometimes it is hard. You're like, okay, like I'm really tired, like I've been sailing for 5 days or whatever, and you're like, just get through the last day. But at the end of the day, like I don't know if you've heard this, like my rowing coach used to say, like, oh, just show up, you know? And like at the end of the day, just showing up is better than not showing up. So it does get hard sometimes, but I think the whole constant change of sailing like allows me to stay engaged, and it's really fun. Like being out on the water is like a feeling that I just really enjoy, and so like I guess I'm lucky to like be doing what I love, I guess. So the fact that I do love sailing keeps it so much easier too to stay engaged. So I don't know if I answered the question right.
Yeah,
no right answers.
No right answers, yeah.
So the next hurdle is Worlds.
Yes.
And then that'll be the deciding factor on if you actually go to the Olympics or not.
Yes.
And then depending on those two outcomes, what is the plan? If you go to the Olympics, and then what? Or you don't make it, then what?
So I'm hoping to go, so
Of course.
that's
We're all
yeah.
we're crossing everything.
So like from now until then, I'm gonna just be making sure that I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that we are the representatives at the games. And after, we'll probably have some time off after the Worlds, because we'll have a large training block leading up. And then we'll start our Europe circuit, we call it. So that's always in the spring, and it starts in March. So we'll probably go somewhere between mid-March and start our Europe circuit. And then probably after that, we'll try to head to Japan as much as we can, because the conditions in Japan are actually very specific. It's like so hot. It is seriously like probably hotter than here in the sauna.
To give everyone reference, it's 135 degrees.
So yeah,
sauna right
everyone
now.
who's going to Tokyo for the Olympics, go naked.
Like they've like
Bring your
like
moo-moo.
apparently they've like changed
discount code.
USA is actually having a couple
Yeah. But apparently they're like changing the marathon to like 3 a.m. or something. I heard that somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but because it's so hot, you know, so it's extremely hot. Like it's so humid. You get to the point where you're drinking water and you're like not peeing because it's so hot, you know, you're just sweating it all out. So, and also like during the summertime, like a lot of typhoons will come.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll bring like massive, huge waves. Like there's huge waves. And for the boat that I sail, like, because you're foiling out of the water, it makes it so hard to sail in waves. So it's really challenging conditions. And it seems like the conditions are just extreme. So it's either very little wind or super windy. So we'll probably be spending as much time there as we can.
Okay.
Because it's super specific. Not really sure the plan, like exact plan, but that's kind of an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking on those like conditions, I mean, I feel like everyone kind of has, whether you're in business or a sport or whatever, and you're playing in a new place or you have a new challenge, you're like, okay, let me go analyze the situation and figure out where I start. When you have to go to a new location that has sea that you've never sailed before, what's your kind of your go-to-market strategy? Is like the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. But like, what's your strategy in terms of being like, all right, this is what we need to do to learn how to sail here?
Right.
Yeah. So like a simple question is, a simple answer is kind of like, I don't know. Like we're always learning and trying to get better. But I mean, really the only way to do it is just like go out and sail, and try to pick up what you can. There's a pretty good basis of understanding of like what the boat needs in certain extreme conditions. So like we kind of start there and then we'll alter to like what we're feeling in the boat and how it's reacting, so there's a lot of like settings that we can do on the boat that can control like how we're sailing the boat and like our body movement. So a lot of the time the boat will kind of tell you what it needs, like in a sense. So we just kind of try to feel like what the boat wants for it to go as fast as it can. But yeah, it's hard.
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, and like I said earlier, just trying to make that percentage as high as possible, because you're never going to do anything completely 100% right.
Right.
So just trying to make that percentage higher and higher, and yeah, so doing the best I can with that.
Are there certain athletes that you really look up to that inspire you?
I wouldn't say specific athletes. I've always looked up to Anna Tunnicliff Tobias. She's an Olympic gold medalist and in 2008, and she's won the CrossFit Games twice and very successful in both sports. And she grew up sailing in Lauderdale at some point, so she was coaching me, and so I've always kind of looked up to her. And she's actually sailing again, trying to go to the games as well. So it's really cool to kind of look up to her like as like a young girl, and now like we're kind of on the same, like we're trying to go for the same thing, and it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to like still look up to her, but like also be a friend with her,
And you're competing against your ex-coach.
Well, she's in a different boat class. But
okay.
But it's, I don't know. It's just like really cool to be in the same like.
You're in the same league.
Yeah, yeah. So it's.
Well, because you'd be on the same Olympic team together.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's insane. So, I've always looked up to her. And I look up to just like a lot of female athletes, like, I don't know, a lot of CrossFit athletes and just people who are like really going for it,
Like leave nothing behind.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah.
And speaking of going for it, I mean, you briefly touched on it in the beginning, but you literally just up and left university to go try to be in the Olympics, which is the coolest thing ever, in my opinion. But can you walk us through what that decision-making process was like and how you were just like, you know what? I'm going to put the books here and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go live my dream.
Yeah, so I've always kind of grown up, and I think most people have, like, in the sense that, especially in the US, like, you're going to go to high school, whatever, like, you're going to play a sport, and then you're going to go to college, whatever, graduate, and then, like, after, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to high school, go to college, and then after I'm going to do an Olympic campaign, like, that's my plan. And so I, like, had joined I went to BU, so fellow BU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All three of us.
Yep.
And we didn't know Anna at BU.
No.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
totally serendipitous.
Go
thing.
Terriers.
Yeah.
So I was originally sailing at BU, and it wasn't necessarily the right thing for me because college sailing is completely different from Olympic style sailing. And so I ended up walking onto the rowing team, like Rachel.
Yeah, which is crazy because we didn't know each other there
Yeah,
either.
yeah. I
Well,
know.
we weren't there at the same time.
Yeah, it's just like wild coincidence. But I was really enjoying rowing, and it was like something that I was really passionate about, and so that kind of kept me going, and I just wanted to get better and better at it. And Riley had asked me fall of 2018. I was like finishing up my exams. He's like, "Hey, want to sail the NACRA?" I was like, "Yeah," because I like it would be fun, And he's like, "Okay," and then like a week later, he's like, "How serious are you about sailing the NACRA?" I was like, yeah, So I call my parents. I'm like, "Mom, Dad, Riley asked me to sail the NACRA," and so my parents were like, "Anna, like, you can't focus on this right now. You gotta finish your exams." I'm like, "Oh, yeah. But I was still, like, secretly talking to Riley. I was like, and so it ended up being that, like, everything kind of made sense. And I was like, well, I know school will be here. And one thing that really helped me was my parents were supportive of it, as long as everything was, like, in line and
Right.
it made sense. At first, I was, like, kind of scared to tell them because they've always been huge advocates of me, like, finishing school before I did the sailing. But they were like, well, this is like a huge opportunity for you. And I knew that too. And like, I knew I would regret it if I didn't take a leave of absence. And like, BU's still standing. It's still there, So, I like talked with my rowing coaches and advisors, and they're all very, very, supportive and happy for me to do it. So, it felt like an easy decision. Like in hindsight, it was like, okay, we got to make sure everything's going to work out. But like, this is essentially what I want to be doing. And so, I'll finish school after.
Unbelievably exciting.
Yeah. So
That's fantastic. All right.
We're at the 20-minute
Yeah, we're
mark.
at the 20 minutes, but I want to ask one more question. So looking back on all of your sailing experiences and athletic experiences and just experiences in general, what for you was the biggest hurdle you've ever faced, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, well, probably recently, yeah. So I recently had surgery about 6 months ago on both of my arms, so that was pretty tough because I was having issues with my arms, and I like wouldn't be able to sail properly. I'd be able to sail like 10 minutes without having extreme pain. Like I wouldn't be able to grip anything. So I think that was probably the biggest hurdle because I couldn't finish our European event, and so I flew like straight home, and for like 2 weeks I had doctor's appointments like every single day. And I was like, they like stuck huge needles in my arm. I like had a scar for like ever from it. It was like the worst. I was like screaming, crying. But I was like,
Rachel hates needles.
yeah. I was like, I'm like seriously so scarred from needles. Like all my physios are like, oh, let's do dry needling. I'm like, no. But essentially, like they didn't really know. Like none of the tests came back positive for what I had which is exertional compartment syndrome. And so we had recently qualified at our first event in Europe for the Pan American Games and the Olympic test event, and that was like a huge honor because we had just been sailing together for a month and we had qualified for that team. And so knowing that I had to get surgery, or like I wouldn't be able to sail if I didn't get surgery, was really scary, especially because from my first surgery date to the Pan American Games, competing at the Pan American Games, it was like 6 or 7 weeks or something like that. So it was like a really fast recovery time that I needed to do. So it was like really scary to me, and like I wanted to go represent the U.S. at the Pan American Games, and that was our chance to qualify the U.S. for like a country spot at the games. So it was a really big event, not only for us but for the country to be able to qualify a spot. So, like, long story short, I ended up getting surgery, and, like, our team physios who are incredible, like, helped me recover, and I was in there for, like, 4 hours a day, and it was, like, a long recovery process, but, that honestly was the easiest part. Just deciding to get the surgery was honestly probably the hardest thing. But recovered in 6 weeks.
Wow.
6 and 5 weeks on each arm. And got to sail the Pan Am Games. Yeah, so.
And won the Pan Am Games.
Yeah, and we won a gold medal.
Yeah,
we won a gold medal, which was, like, crazy. It was, like, such a cool feeling. And we qualified the country there, so. But in hindsight, it was a hurdle, but, like, it now allows me to sail pain-free and no issues at all, so it's like, thank you for the surgery. Like, yeah. So, yeah, but that was probably the decision to get surgery was the hardest thing I've had to do. It was like, yeah.
I can't even imagine, but luckily all very much worth it.
Oh, it was like, it's like night and day sailing, so.
I got shivers when you said it's not only my future, but the country.
Yeah.
No big deal.
America would not be represented. Yeah. So cool. So the country was saved. Your arms were saved.
Country was saved. My arms were saved. You know, everything's good.
Cool. See you in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, any last questions from you?
No last questions because I'm trying to honor our 20-minute window. I mean, I'm going to be asking Anna a lot of questions offline. But, I mean, it goes without saying you have a sauna full and an office full of fangirls here, and we couldn't be more excited to have a brand ambassador that's really pioneering and kind of shaping this, like, new role of, like, what female athletes look like, also participating in the only co-ed sport. That's, like, a really interesting conversation to be around, and we will be watching everything virtually, and I'm gonna get the races right, and also be in Tokyo. Yeah. I mean, the Snow Monkey fam is beyond excited.
Well, I'm, like, so proud to represent, like, Snow Monkey and be part of it. It's really cool to be part of something like this.
How feasible would it be for you to trim the mane and also eat Snow Monkey?
We could get you a soft serve machine. Yeah, you could just like dump it into your mouth mid-race.
I'd have to figure something out, but it could.
You're like trapezing anyways,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
so you don't need your hands.
Riley can hold the mane for like a sec while I eat some Snow Monkey.
Yeah. Cool, because it sounds like you're super bored throughout the whole thing and not doing much.
Test that in your agility training.
Yeah.
All right, Force. You heard that.
Yeah, Force Physical Therapy.
Yeah.
Shout out. Challenge.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yep. Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, of course.
So, also everyone follow Snow Monkey at Eat Snow Monkey. Then obviously follow Anna. Say your handle. It's Weis Anna.
It's Weis Anna. Yeah.
And then also Gibbs Racing.
Yeah. Gibbs Weis Racing. So.
And we'll put that in font.
Yeah, we'll put everything there. Follow all of us so that you can get. Mainly follow her. But then us as the tag-alongs. Cool? Well,
cool.
See everyone next time.
Bye.
Episode 7.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Eat Snow Monkey. Monkey Business is brought to you by the Snow Monkey Kingdom and produced by Audible. Our theme song is brought to you by Alex English.